If you haven't heard about Anchor, it's the easiest way to make a podcast. Let me explain. First of all, it's free. But there are also creation tools that allow you to record and edit your podcast right from your phone or computer. Anchor will distribute your podcast for you so you can be heard on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, and many others and save you a ton of effort. You can make money from your podcast with no minimum listenership. It's everything you need to make a podcast all in one place, which is why the Baseball Together Network uses Anchor. Download the free Anchor app or go to anchor.fm to get started.
The Baseball Together Network presents the Seattle Baseball Together podcast with your host, Blackjack Brad, and now, Seattle Baseball Together.
Welcome to this month's episode of the Seattle Baseball Together podcast, Baseball Family. I'm your host. I am Brad, and today I have a special guest with me. I have another big Mariners fan with me. His name is Jewell Young. Say hi, Jewell.
Hey, what's going on, Baseball Family?
All right, so Jewell and I just thought we would go through and we'd talk about the first month of the season, some of the things that we saw, the good, the bad, and some surprises that we saw as well. And then we're just going to talk to Jewell about his fandom, about becoming a Mariners fan, why he has persisted, why on earth he has stuck with it for this long. It's hard to comprehend sometimes, but we do it anyway.
Yeah, we do. We do it with that little tiny glimmer of hope at the end of the tunnel that is always just closed off by another rock slide.
That's right. Yep, that is absolutely true.
By the end of April.
So Jewell's going to lay down on the couch for a little bit, and we're going to talk through it as this month's support group.
It's basically a therapy session.
That's kind of the goal of this podcast. Is what
I think that should be the name of the podcast, like Mariners Therapy.
Mariners Therapy.
Tagline right there. Title.
Yeah, I think so.
Title.
Seattle Baseball Together, and then off to the side, Mariners Therapy. I think you're right. I think that's the way it should go.
Yeah.
But Jewell, let's get started here. What's the best thing that you saw this month out of the Seattle Mariners?
Well, you take away tonight's game from Yusei Kikuchi.
Right. So real quick, we're recording. It's Friday night, April 23rd. I like to do these a little bit in advance because I got a lot to do with these. So play the Red Sox tonight.
Yep, the game just ended. They lost. Kikuchi had his worst performance of the season so far, so 1 out of 4. Which this is his worst game so far out of his first 4 starts. The first 3 were phenomenal, though. I mean, 3 earned runs over those first 3 games.
He's
and they were all home runs, and they were 2 of the best players on the other teams.
You got Xander Bogaerts, JD Martinez, and then
before that, when
those two guys,
it was
they're
Brandon
the only ones
Belt.
who drove in runs. They're the only ones who drove in runs.
It was Brandon Belt and Buster Posey before that, and then it was Nelson Cruz before that. So, I mean, when you're taking on the best hitters of the other team, and those are who you're losing to, but you're beating everyone else, then I'll take that. I'll call that a big win. So Kikuchi's actually looking like he's progressing and taking some steps forward.
That's absolutely that's been awesome. I remember you came on with us on the big show. Oh gosh, that was a couple months ago now, and that was one big thing you mentioned was Kikuchi, that his swing and miss rates were really high, and that he's actually a good pitcher. And and I saw like glimmers of him the last couple of years, right, of him pitching. That it's like man, he's got the potential. Like that's why they brought him, because the potential. He's just got to get over the hump. But it felt like the first couple outings he had this season that he's gotten over that hump, that he's going to be that. I don't know if he's got elite potential, but he's got very good potential, right? I think he's starting to tap into that and really show us what he's made of and what he can do. For me, my good was the bullpen.
I agree. That bullpen's been a big, very amazing surprise, especially Drew Steckenrider.
Will Vest has been strong.
Vest has been good.
Like I came into the season like better have a lead when that starting pitcher goes out, because it's not going to stay. It's got to be big. But man, the last like 4 games they've only given up 4 or 5 games. They've pretty much shut down opponents. They played the Red Sox.
Graveman and Steckenrider have been holding it down. Like just that gap in between when the starter comes out and they get to the back end of that bullpen, and Montero and I can't remember who else they had back there, but I mean, Steckenrider and Graveman have been absolute nails.
Graveman, I think, could be the very best setup man right now. Like,
Oh yeah,
he's doing an outstanding job in the 8th inning. And why I can't think of who the closer is right now either. I
I
don't
thought
know.
it was Montero, but it's not Montero.
It is Montero.
It is Montero. Okay,
Yeah, because
it's Montero. Yeah, Montero's been a good, nice, pleasant, very pleasant surprise when that acquisition. I mean, you look forward to next year too, though, when Ken Giles is back in the bullpen. So that's another just upside.
Yeah, it's true. And like I said, I was really low on the bullpen going into this season, and they've been one of the strongest parts of this team that they've shut down the opposing offenses. And this is the thing too, is that I always get worried at the beginning of the season when you get into so many one-run games.
Yeah,
And that the Mariners right now
because
have played.
the ball just isn't moving. It just doesn't fly as well in April and May, and
Yeah,
I mean June,
yeah, the
July is
Mariners
when it starts heating up. And so if they can get it together now and iron out now, then
Yeah, and the Mariners have played more one-run games than anybody right now. They've got the best. They've also got the best record in those games because of the bullpen.
yeah.
But this is one thing that I was really worried about, is because 2 years ago in 2019 had that really really hot start, right? Started off in Japan really well, and then
Oh
came
yeah,
in
it's
and
the
just
same. It's the same.
on
That's exactly where I'm at
fire.
too.
Yeah, it was
Oh,
close games, a
it's
negative
all
run
the all the
differential
same.
for a long time. Finally got
Yep.
over that hump. What, yesterday? And now
Um,
they're back
Now we're
even
right
again.
at zero. We're right back
Yeah.
at zero. I'm looking at it
Yep.
right now. But I mean, that zero is on par with Oakland, who is in first place. That's ahead of LA, the Angels, who are a -4 run differential, Texas a -11. And then the last place Trastros, who are +5.
Yeah, and that's because they're so boomer bust offensively,
Oh yeah.
right?
And I like the Mariners because they're very solid on what they do. Like they're very fundamental. They're very, very, very fundamental. You watch them and you just see fundamental defense. You see fundamental offense. You see fundamental base running. It's very, very fundamental. That's just who Scott Service is. He's fundamental.
Yeah. Yep. That is exactly what it is it is fundamentals, and that's what wins games. All right, Joel, what was the bad that you saw this month?
Well, obviously James Paxton, that was bad, but I another surprise has honestly been, I'm going to say one more good thing. Just the season so far from Ty France. Ty France has been incredible. Like him and Haniger, that 1-2 punch. That's honestly been another big surprise. Like Haniger coming back and just being awesome, hitting in that leadoff spot, and then Ty France following him has been just an amazing 1-2 punch. I would love
I
to
want
see
to
them
say
move
they have
down.
the best combined average out of all 1-2 hitters in the league right now. At least they
They
did last
do.
week when I saw
They
a
do.
graphic.
It's 316 and 303.
Yeah. Yeah. And that's the thing, is you forget about Haniger because he missed so much, like almost
Yeah.
all of 2019 with the issue, right?
I
That's what
mean,
I
just
refer to
listen.
it as, is the issue. And then last
Yeah.
year he had his
Yeah.
back issue.
Yeah.
And we haven't seen him in so long. We forget how good he is.
Yeah. You hear these two OBPs, Haniger 349 and France 405 after tonight's game.
There you
Those
go.
are those are elite OBP numbers from your 1-2 guys.
They are, yeah.
And
Well,
we've been
and
hurting
last
for a
night's
leadoff hitter
game,
forever.
yeah. And last night's game, you score 7 runs on 3 hits, and Ty France comes up clutch with that
Yep.
double. And then who would have thought Sam Haggerty was going to be the guy who was going to come in and really give you the offense that you need? Because there's a
Haggerty
reason
is,
he's not hitting, right?
yeah. I saw him on the field when I went to a game last week, and that dude is
He's
tiny.
really small. Yeah.
He's so
Yeah, he
small.
came out and he played some center field when I went to a game in Peoria, a spring training game, and I was like, yeah, that dude is small. Like Braden
Yeah.
Bishop's small, but Sam Haggerty is
Haggerty
really
is
tiny.
Haggerty is small.
Yeah.
But no, one, I guess, for a bad thing, if I'm looking at it here, uh, I mean, there's always a lot of bad when you're a Mariners fan, so it's, you try not to look.
One
You
of the
try
bad
not.
things is you can just say, like, they're gonna hit a wall. The wall,
Oh
it's
yeah,
gonna come, and
it's gonna come. It's gonna hit. We hope it's not going to, but we know it's going to. But it when. because this team is showing that they're competitive and they're hanging with these teams so far early in the season. I mean, granted, it's early still. It's
Mm-hmm.
early. And they're playing, every team is adjusting from going from 60 to 162. And so it's so early still that it's hard to say if anything that we're seeing is legit. The A's 12-game win streak, is that legit? Like,
Mm-hmm.
what is actually real? So everything is very just kind of misconstrued right now, except for if you're Jacob DeGrom. That is
He's just par for
very,
the course right now.
yeah, he's just, you know, Jacob DeGrom in it.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, he's hit 2 RBIs. He's only allowed 1 earned run on the mound. So, you know, there's that. But honestly, the bad thing is that Kyle Lewis was out for so much so far,
Mm-hmm.
and coming back,
Yeah.
there hasn't been much. There's
Well,
just
here's the thing with Kyle Lewis is I've been watching him really closely, and I think he's pressing a little bit. I think he's trying to get that first home run out of the way, but
mhm.
he's making solid contact,
Yep.
and he's hitting the ball like a guy I would expect who doesn't have mid-season lower body strength.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
He's flying out to about the warning track. He's not able to get his whole legs behind his swing, and I think that's why those
Yeah.
balls aren't quite flying out.
Yeah. He's just not there yet. You can tell he's trying to do it at the plate too. When I was watching the game tonight, could kind of watching him. I mean, you can tell by the OBP. The OBP is super low. He's not super disciplined out there, and he's
Mm-hmm.
just trying to get back on the highlight reel. Like, hey, I'm the rookie of the year. Look at me. I got to be the leader. So,
And I'm not worried about a sophomore slump with him. I think he'll be okay. Like I said, I think it's just that he missed enough of a portion of spring training that he's still trying to get his legs under him. And
mhm.
and I mean that figuratively and literally. He had a knee injury that I'm sure they were just like, no, just rest it. Just rest it. So he's got to get his strength back in his legs. And once he does that, he'll be hitting the ball just fine. He'll feel more comfortable and he'll get going. So I'm not worried about Kyle Lewis, but it is a little disappointing to see a guy who we know what he can do, see him playing the way he is right now. But I'll go ahead and go straight into my bad. And man, how bad has Dylan Moore been? Holy moly. Unreal.
He has been great defensively. He
He
has
has
been
been.
phenomenal defensively, like absolutely top notch gold glove, third base, shortstop, second base,
Yep.
all around the diamond. He has made amazing plays.
Yep. And that's
We
the
haven't
only
seen him
reason
play
he's
the
still on the team,
outfield
I'm
too
sure.
much. Oh, yeah. Like, where's the Dylan Moore we saw last year before the injury?
Yeah. And this is, who he reminds me of. So he's batting 111 right now, 22 strikeouts. There's the issue right there is the fact that he's not even making contact. Like I'm
Yeah,
fine with a guy if you're grounding out, if you're flying out, if you're hitting sack flies, whatever, you're putting the ball in play. But if you're not putting the ball in play, you've got some bigger issues that need to be worked through. So, like I said, he's batting 111 right now. He reminds me of Jack Wilson. Do you remember Jack Wilson, the third baseman? He was batting like a buck 50 the entire season, but he was like borderline Gold Glovers right before Seager
yeah,
came up, and it was
yep.
just
It's
like,
very similar to Evan White
yeah,
last season.
last year, yeah,
Like Evan White, but you look at him like swing, he's so disciplined out the plate. He's disciplined out the plate, and when he makes contact, he makes great contact.
uh huh,
It's just he just hasn't put it all together at the plate yet. I mean,
yeah.
and that's part of the jump going from double A to a 60-game season in your rookie year.
It's hard to get those reps in.
And then now you're playing 162. Like you're going from double A to 60 game to 162. Like I think Evan White's going to be phenomenal.
I do too. I totally agree with you.
Everything's there. Everything's there for Evan White. Every tool is there. The
Absolutely.
defense, the bat, the contact, the vision, the discipline. It's all there.
Yeah.
He's going to be great. Give it like 2 more years.
Yeah, I agree. He'll be an all-star. And I'm not too worried. I'm not really worried about him because like you said, he squares up the ball, he makes good solid contact. He's got the plate discipline. He's just got to put every piece together. But man, Dylan Moore has been like the bane of my existence. Every time he gets it, I feel bad too because like you said, last year he was good. He was good last year. And you get to the point where when you get to the point where a guy comes up to the plate and you're just like, well, 1 out, got to be 2 outs, and you know that he's not going to put the ball in play to move anybody over. He's just going to strike out. That's when you really get issues with guys. And you shouldn't want to DH for your second baseman or your third baseman or wherever he's playing that day. But there are times I would almost rather have the pitcher hit than Dylan Moore right now. And I hope he gets it together. I really do, because he's a glove that you could definitely use, and you don't want to have to wait. You don't want to have to bring in a guy who's that athletic as like a defensive replacement late in the game.
Oh no, I agree. I mean, it's kind of the same with, I mean, between him, JP Crawford, and Evan White, they're all kind of in that boat where they're all just great defenders. Their
Mm-hmm.
glove is what keeps them on the field. And then, Ty France, it's like, we could just DH Ty France, but we could put him at second. But then we want Dylan gloves out there too, but we don't really have a spot for Dylan Moore. So let's, just put Ty France at DH, keep him in that 2 hole, which, I would like to see, if I could see anything different, I would like to see Seager back in the 2 hole, because that's where he thrived for years. He thrived as a 2 hole hitter.
Yeah, I'd like to see Seager at the 2 hole, put Lewis at 3, and then France at 4. I feel like Lewis would get some really good protection. Seager would get some really good protection. The only problem is, I mean, I guess Kyle Seager has been like sneaky, has had like some sneaky speed lately. He's not fast by any stretch of the imagination, but he can still get around the bases when he needs to. I'd rather have somebody like Ty France have his speed out there. But
Yeah,
no,
no,
I think
agree.
I think that would be a good way to go. So what's your surprise? What's been your surprise this season?
Man, the surprise is, why are they calling up guys like Haggerty and bringing up these other guys? Where's Gilbert? Where's Kirby? Why LJ Newsome? Why are these calling up these other guys instead of the guys who actually need to get these reps in this season? The service clock is over to manipulate that. We're already past April 17th or whatever.
Yeah.
So where's Kelnick? Where's Gilbert? Where's Kirby? Where's a couple of those guys from last season that were playing in the summer games that were just drafted, that were showing well? Where's where we at? Where are some of those guys like Haggerty? That's the best we have in the minors to call up to contribute.
I know, and this is the thing too, is like Taylor Trammell has been fine, right? But he's not going to have a spot on the roster as soon as Kellenick comes up. As soon as Kellenick comes up, Trammell's going to go back down to AAA because that's his spot. And I don't know if they feel like they owe Trammell something, but man, I would rather have Kellenick up there. And like you said, the clock has already passed for service time manipulation. Bring him up. He's ready. And
he's so ready. And Trammell's role, if anything, I think he could stay in the majors. I think he would be a fine 4th outfielder over any of the other options that the Mariners have, over Bishop, who is finally back down in AAA. Thank goodness. Fraley, who is finally back down in AAA. Thank goodness.
Fraley's hurt. That's the only reason he's not actually technically in AAA. He's got that hamstring issue, but I'm sure he will be as soon as he's healthy.
We don't need him.
We don't need Fraley. No,
we don't need Fraley. We don't need Bishop. But like, I mean, I think there is like an O to like Trammell because of the trading and the capital given to him because of trading him in. So it's like, oh, we traded for you. You were part of that big deal with France. Like we have to, we have to play you. We have to use you. We have to see what we actually got, if we actually got something. But I mean, the 167, 274, 370 slash line and the 645 OPS, which is 55 points below league average at 700. It's not good.
Well, he had those. He is good defensively, and what's funny is I saw him in spring training. I saw him. We went to a game where the Mariners played the Diamondbacks, and he actually kind of had like was it him or Bishop? It was Bishop. Never mind, because Trammell started the game in right field, and then Julio Rodriguez came in, and but Bishop had this play where he dove for a ball and it hit off his glove and kind of scattered back towards the infield. And I can't remember who was hitting, whoever it was. It might have been Marte. Tried to go to third, and Julio Rodriguez gunned him down at third. And it's like, well, that play courtesy of Braden Bishop and his defensive inability. but that's what you're getting from those guys.
the thing is, both Rodriguez and Kelnick have cannons.
Yes.
When the Mariners have all three of those guys in the outfield, there will be no running allowed. This is a run-free zone.
And no balls are going to
No,
drop either.
no balls are going to be dropped between Lewis, Kelnick, and Rodriguez. Nothing's going to be dropped. No one's going to be stupid enough to run on those guys.
Yeah, no. Yeah,
And
I wasn't
because
ever.
Kelnick was a center fielder, so Kelnick has a cannon.
Yeah.
He's so fast too in left.
Yeah.
Julio doesn't have the greatest speed, but like the bat will play, and then just the ability to have Mitch go to DH and be able to preserve him longer.
Yes,
Like
absolutely.
that's going to be a huge benefit to the Mariners.
Yeah, and I wasn't planning on seeing Julio Rodriguez until next year.
Yeah,
just because he is so young. And we talk about this whole Kelenic thing, and I do understand. Like, he's never played above high A, right? He's never played above advanced A.
He played double A in 2019.
Did he play double A?
He played double A in 2019. He was he was in Modesto with White.
Well, Arkansas, that's the double A team.
Arkansas, yeah, he was in Arkansas.
Was he? Oh, okay.
He was in
that's
Arkansas.
Right. He was like
Evan
at the end
White.
of the season.
Yeah,
that's right.
And yet
okay.
I think a lot of it's because he hasn't also signed a big extension like White did. I bet if he would have signed an extension by now, we would have seen him last season with Evan White go from double A to the majors.
Yeah, and I think that's stupid. They shouldn't be holding him back because of not signing an extension, because I mean, they're just continuing to hurt their relationship with him on that respect. And I brought this up last month, that the longer they keep him in the minor leagues, they're trying to maximize team control, which I understand. That's something that probably needs to be addressed when the collective bargaining agreement is redone this next year, because it is a thing, and clubs can say they're not doing it, but they're doing it. Everybody's doing it, and it damages the relationship with the players. Like, we see it with Chris Bryant in Chicago, that yes, he says he wants to be there, but with between the trade rumors and also them manipulating his service time, which he didn't win the grievance or whatever, but it still happened. And I'm sure that he's still in the back of his mind, he's like, yeah, no, if I don't have to resign here, I'm not going to, because I'm going to go somewhere else.
100% agree. I mean, that's the best example is Chris Bryant, especially because he's a Boris client. But he went from rookie of the year to MVP to a really big junior slump. But he still hit, I think in 2019, he still hit like 280.
Which is still pretty good right now.
But he was still he was streaky, which was the problem. He's streaky. 2020, same thing. He was streaky. But in 2020, the Cubs offense was not good at all.
Right.
They were bad. And with Kelnick, and you were talking about the CBA, they just started talks again.
That's good.
The MLBPA and the
owners.
They had the first initial conversation about the CBA. I want to say that was on Tuesday this last week. A lot of things to discuss, obviously, like service time manipulation. I guarantee that's going to be changed, because that's a hot button issue that everyone knows is a problem.
Yeah.
So I wouldn't be shocked if that's a key point. There's so much to that. But yeah, Kelnick, when they just need to bring him up. I mean, Evan White went from double A, straight from double A.
Yeah.
But it was because he signed an extension, and Kelnick hasn't signed it yet.
Yeah.
I'm sure they will get him to sign it. It's just kind of, he wants to prove what he's worth, so he gets the max amount. He doesn't want to get stuck in a Ronald Acuna situation or an Ozzie
and I understand
Albies.
that. Yeah, and for Acuna, we actually. So I interned with a minor league team. It was the Angels Rookie League affiliate. It was at the time it was the Orem Owls, and we kind of talked about that there are guys from the Caribbean islands, from the Dominican Republic, from Puerto Rico, from Cuba, from the Caribbean, who will kind of toil in the minor leagues for a lot of years, that basically they have to be told to leave by the teams, and we're like, man, because there was one guy, I think he'd been with the Owls for like 3-4 years maybe, And we're like, geez, what is he still doing here? And then we kind of thought about like, well, think about what they're making this season. We put in the amount of money they're making with the Owls in a season, and then converted that over to whatever the currency is in the Dominican Republic. Like, oh, there it is. That's why. They can send all that money home to their families, or go home in the off season, and they've got a lot of money. Where here we're like, oh, you're paying to play, but at that point, it's a lot. So it makes sense why Acuna
Yeah.
would sign that deal.
Yeah, at the time, yeah. I mean, that was where he's 3 years into that deal now.
Yeah, yeah.
Something like that. So, I mean, in theory, they got a great deal. They got a phenomenal deal.
Yeah, they did.
Yeah. So honestly, biggest surprise is that we haven't where are these guys? Where are you? How about you? What's your biggest surprise so far?
I was going to say the same thing, Kellenic, that we haven't seen him yet. I was expecting him to be up by now, because we need him.
I mean, we desperately we need the outfield help. So
need the outfield help.
Bad.
Need the offensive help. We're not going to win these one-run games all season. I mean, we lost a one-run game tonight. So
we have a 200. Oh, it was more than one run tonight.
It was 6-5. Scored 3 runs in the top of the ninth.
Oh, that's right when I turned the game off.
You.
I'm just being honest, right when I turned the game off. But I mean, we're slashing.
Seager hit a 3-run bomb.
Of course he did. Thank Seager for finally doing something. But I mean, we're as a team, we're slashing 209, 292, 362 with a 654 OPS. And OPS is one stat that I really look at for teams, because the average player should be at 700. So the average team should be at a 700 OPS. And when a team is 50 points below that, that's where we see it as Mariners fans or anyone who understands baseball stats. When you see an OPS like that, you know that there's something else coming. You know that there's some regression and that this isn't gonna last.
Yeah. Well, and you look at this tonight. You had in what's that 6-7 in the 6-7-8 holes. You had Murphy, Moore, and Haggerty.
And Murphy was taken out of the game.
Yeah, he's for a pinch hitter.
7th for Marmolejos,
who is streaky at best. Marmolejos is, but you know,
freaking Luis Torrens, who we both hate.
I was gonna say,
both do not like whatsoever. He is the worst.
I still can't believe that they traded for him, because the Mariners traded for Torrens right after they had stolen 4 bases on him last year in a doubleheader against the Padres. Like that day, and I swear it was like 2 days later they traded for him. It's like, you know what this guy's capable of, and it's not getting runners out. Like I don't think the dude's ever thrown anybody out stealing.
I don't think so either.
At least not as a Mariner. Like, I am not a fan of Torrens. He is a defensive liability, and yeah, he can hit, but we got plenty of guys on that roster who can hit.
He can't hit. He doesn't hit.
He doesn't. I swear he hits home runs though, every now and again.
Every now and again, but not as much as if you were putting Tom Murphy behind there every day.
That's true. You're right. Murphy, he has not hit a home run yet this season. I think he's batting 191. Yeah, no, Torrens needs to go.
Way more games than Murphy. And Murphy's is a better game caller. Murphy's just he's a really good catcher. The Mariners have had some really good catchers, but they like Narvaez. They should have kept Narvaez.
Yeah, Murphy's batting 121.
But he's not playing though.
No, he's not. He's played 11 games.
Yeah.
No, he's not. And you know what? Maybe I don't know how ready Cal Raleigh is or not.
It seems like he's been in the system for so long. I wonder if he's just,
I've heard them talk about him like they want him to come up.
Oh yeah, he's been talked about that for like what 2-3 years now. He's one of the best minor league pitch framers.
Well, and he's a switch hitter
off the chart.
And he's a switch hitter too.
Yeah, which is hard to see with catchers.
It is hard as a catcher, and I'll take a little bit lower average with a guy who, I mean, if he hits 200 as a switch hitting catcher, I'll take it.
And the reason why
he's
defensively, especially called up yet is because the only 2 catchers on the 40-man roster are Tom Murphy and Luis Torrens.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, he would be the third guy, because they talked about him coming up and playing last year, but he never did. Because I think he was on the taxi squad, but he never made it up.
I think he was a third catcher, but it's like there's I mean, it's frustrating because we have these players. I mean, you look through he's the number 8 prospect um in the system, ranked 8th prospect.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, he's 24, so he's at a great age for a catcher.
Mm-hmm.
And he's 24. His ETA is 2021. It's like, okay, where are you at? But then you got guys who are projected by MLB.com, like Logan Gilbert, ETA 2021, George Kirby, ETA 2021.
Mm-hmm.
They're both 23 years old.
Yeah.
Like,
and
those guys are old for pitchers to haven't come up yet for high pedigree pitchers.
I'll finish this part with this segment with this. Sometimes I worry that Jerry Dipoto, like, he has a schedule. Like, I'm sure he has everything scheduled out. Like,
100%.
Like, he has a plan for when Kelenick's going to come up that we just don't know. He's got a plan for when J-Rod's going to come up, and we just don't know. He's got a plan for Kirby, Gilbert, all those guys. The thing that I worry about is that he's like, okay, I'm trying to get everybody to hit in 2023. He's like, so I don't want to. So he doesn't want to use up like club control. Doesn't want to lose guys to free agency. Doesn't want to risk losing guys to potential injury, whatever. But the problem that I have with not bringing these guys up is that Cal Raleigh needs to get some big league experience. George Kirby needs to get some big league experience. Logan Gilbert needs to get some big league experience. Jared Kelenick is a big leaguer and just needs to start playing every dang day.
No, I agree. I mean, you look through the top 30 prospects, they're all 2021, 2022 MLB.com rated ETA. Like, they're all right there. They're all on the cusp. And like you're saying, it's just get them to the big leagues.
They need to come up. And if your plan is to win in 2 years, they'll be ready. They're not going to be as ready if you don't bring them up.
All these guys are going to need at least 2 seasons, at least.
Yeah. Yep.
Especially Cal Raleigh. Raleigh will need it more than any of them to be able to be a big league catcher, to call games, to learn the trust of like Marco Gonzalez and Kikuchi and the guys who are there now. That's a lot to learn for a catcher. And 26, if they can get him up, and 2023 is that the year, then you get Cal Raleigh 2 years starting now. He's 26. He's prime.
Yep. Now's the time to do it. Definitely. Well, let's take a quick break. And when we get back, we're going to talk about Jewell and his tortured fandom, I guess you could say.
No matter which ballpark you're at, you want to rep your team. Now you can with 9+ Us. Welcome to the Big City Series. With every design available in your team's colors, you can fit in with the home crowd or stand out on the road. Either way, we have the colors you crave. Shop the Big City Series and find designs that rep your favorite baseball podcast, cheer from the cheap seats, and much more. Shop the Big City Series only at 9plusus.com.
All right, welcome back, baseball family. So like I said, we're going to talk to Jewell about his fandom, about how he became a Mariners fan and why he's still a Mariners fan and everything in between. So Jewell, let's start with that. Why did you become a Mariners fan? What was it that got you on board with this misery that we call our fandom?
Was born into the cult.
There you go.
You're either born. You don't choose this life. It's chosen for you.
It's true.
It's right. It's a cult that you're born into, and I was born into it. Being born in Seattle, raised in Seattle. I mean, you kind of don't have a choice, especially when you were born in the 90s.
Yeah.
Into the early 2000s, when you were watching Mariners baseball when they were really freaking good. And then you grew up into a teenager, an adult, and then they were just garbage. And then you were like, well, it's too late to change my fandom now to anyone else. So,
yeah.
That's kind of how it started. And how it's going is just a lot of hope. There's a lot of hope. Like we were just talking about, there's a lot of hope.
There is. And there's been years where I've gone through and looked at it like, if they were in the NL West, they'd have been in the playoffs.
Oh, you put them in the NL Central playoffs. You put
every
them
year.
in the
not every year, but a lot.
You put them in the AL Central, they would be competitive.
Yeah.
It's just, but the West is wide open. You see it this year, how just weak and wide open it is.
I wouldn't even call it weak. I mean, the A's have won 50 games in a row already after only playing 20,
Yeah, definitely.
And then you've got the Angels who are playing really well right now. And the Astros, they have a ton of talent. They're going to come back and they're going to be competitive and compete for the division, whatever. The only team that doesn't have a place in this division is the Rangers. That's because they stink. That's it.
Yeah, the Rangers are so bad, and um, the Astros. I don't know. I would have to disagree on the Astros there because I just don't think that they're as good as advertised. I mean, you look at their pitching. Their pitching is horrendous. They have Zach Greinke, and that's it.
It's true. That is absolutely right.
That's it. They don't have Roberto Osuna locking down games anymore.
Yeah.
Like they just don't have what they used to have. And then you honestly look at their team. It's like they have Altuve, Correa, Bregman. But you
That's
think
true. And then after that is a bunch of who's that?
Exactly. The outfield is all young players. And there's no one in the outfield there. There's no one pitching. They just have a whole lot of nothing. And the Astros are they're just not good. And I don't think Correa is going to even end the year on the team.
Probably not. Yeah.
Because he was a first number one pick. They're not going to just waste that and not be able to re-sign him.
Well, especially the Astros. I mean, with the way that they built their team by being that bad and having all those draft picks and bringing those guys in that way, they're not going to let him walk. A, they're not going to pay him, and B, they're not going to let him walk. So I think you're absolutely right on that.
Yeah, I don't think he's going to be in Houston by the end of the season, and he's not going to get Francisco Lindor money. None of the Corey Seager is going to be the only one to come close to Francisco Lindor money.
And I don't think he's going to get it.
No.
So speaking of Corey Seager, let's talk about that. We were texting about this a little bit a few weeks ago. So he's going to be a free agent, and Kyle Seager's kind of getting up there. But we did talk about that crowded outfield with basically four outfielders. You got Mitch Haniger, who's going to probably end up being the DH when we get our. I'm going to just say they're going to be the holy trinity of outfielders. That's who it's going to be, and it's going to be fantastic and amazing for 4 years.
Oh yeah, that trifecta is going to be amazing for the next 6 years.
It is. So is there a spot on this team? I mean, I would think there would be a spot for Corey Seager somewhere. We got JP Crawford who's a Gold Glover, but Seager's a better hitter.
JP Crawford he's great. I think he would be a great second baseman. Or I think he has way better range than Corey Seager, which would keep him at shortstop. However, I think Corey Seager could slide into second base easily. But then you got Ty France, who is just kind of there, who's good, who's so good. And
at least right now he is.
Then you got to think like, okay, Evan White's a Gold Glover, but if his bat doesn't turn around, even with the big extension, is he even worth it? And then you can kind of make the play for, okay, France at second, Crawford at short, bring in Seager, move him to third, keep Kyle Seager, move him to first because, the legs and the glove just aren't there. I mean, especially since he's maybe 32.
I think Kyle Seager would make a really good first baseman.
He'd make an amazing first baseman. He would make an amazing second baseman.
If Max Muncy could play first base, Kyle Seager would be a Gold Glover.
I think he would be a much better. I could see him profiling really well at second base, and then France at first base. Because I just think France's bat profile fits.
It fits the profile, but I feel like Seager plays third base. Like I was actually told this once. I was 13. I'd been catching like exclusively for like 3 years already at this point.
Oh yeah.
And we moved, and so I went to a different league, and I was like, I'd like to try something else. I'd like to learn a different position, learn how to play a little bit different baseball. And my coach told me, what do you think about playing third base? Like, never done it, but sure. He's like, I think you got the build for it. You got wider hips. And that's what I think it is. I think Kyle Seager has the hips of a third baseman.
He totally does. Like he literally is up there. I mean, you take Vlad Guerrero Jr., because you and Briggy talked about this like a month ago.
Yeah,
best booty in the AL or best booty in the league. Vlad Guerrero got it because of them catcher thighs from when he was earlier in his career. He was a catcher.
Well, and it's genetic. Let's be real.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah. He got it from his daddy. But then Kyle Seager, but you look at Corey Seager, like he doesn't have those hips.
No, he doesn't. He's built completely differently.
So differently.
I have two nephews who are like that. One of them's a little bit. I don't want to say he's chunkier, but he's thicker. He's a thicker build, and then his little brother is just like this little scrawny little kid, and that's like the Seager brothers. Kyle Seager is a little more stocky with bigger hips, wider hips, which there's nothing wrong with that. I mean, that's where the power comes from, right? And then you've got Corey Seager, who's tall and lean and makes a great shortstop, who could also make a great third baseman.
Yeah, I think the glove and the range for him, I just think it's because of the legs. You don't often see legs age well at third base.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and though, moving from shortstop to third base, I always think of there's one player that comes to mind specifically in this position, and that's A-Rod. And I felt like he did well as a third baseman. It wasn't ideal, I don't feel like, for him to be a third baseman, just because he did have that shortstop body. Dude was so stinking tall, but it kind of worked out for him, right? I mean, all things considered, third base kind of worked out for A-Rod.
A-Rod is one of the few that actually aged well at third base. And I mean, Scott Rowland, Chipper Jones, a couple other guys that also aged extremely well for playing third base. You've seen it with Kyle Seager, though, the last couple seasons. The legs and the range it's not quite
he's not
the
a Gold
same
Glover
as
anymore.
It was. Like from 27, like 18 was kind of his peak.
Mm-hmm.
And that was his last like great defensive season. You've kind of seen the defensive run saved go down, the UZR go up, or go down negatively. It's regressing, but so I think first base would be a good fit. I think there's room on this team for all of them. I truly think there is, just because of how much shifting you go through on a daily basis during a 162 game season.
Yeah.
To get guys in, to keep them fresh, to keep legs fresh.
So that's the thing. It's not like it used to be where guys that play 160 games every year, you had your everyday players who it's like, that position is filled, we don't need you. Now it's like, we'll make a spot for you.
Yeah, I mean, that's exactly what they're doing with Ty France.
Yeah, exactly.
The bat plays, and you get Corey Seager over, the bat's going to play. Yep. You keep Kyle Seager, you're able to keep him around on a 3-year, $30 million deal. He'll play. Yeah,
it will. Unless, man, and I would be so upset if this happened, unless you get an Adrian Beltre or Sean Figgins situation where they just flat out forget how to hit once they get to Seattle.
Oh, yeah.
Because that happens so often, and I can't figure it out.
Just with how changed it is, especially with, Egger being a little bit more involved, still an advisory hitting coach role, but still involved. Ichiro being around the team, Mike Cameron being around the team. You get these old school vet savvy hitters that are still hanging around, in these different roles, these advisory roles that are just there helping.
And I think that's going to make a big deal going forward with these young guys, is having guys like Ichiro and Mike Cameron. They are on, I mean, I don't want to say the best team ever, but the most winning team ever, the best regular season team ever. That those guys won more games in regular season than anybody's ever won. So they can teach them what needs to happen in a regular season. How do you condition yourself to make that, to get through the grind and to win all those games? What did we do wrong when the postseason came around? What can you do differently?
Yeah, exactly. And they have the right players back in those roles. They have all the right guys back in those roles to help these young guys succeed. Especially those two, Mike Cameron and Ichiro. I mean, if you're going to have any two outfielders from the last 20 years of the Mariners coming back and coaching and, being in those roles with who we have right now, you have the perfect set of outfield coaches.
Yep, absolutely. Well, Jewell, we didn't really talk so much about your fandom. We talked a little bit about it, but let's end with this. What is, if you could see one thing from the Mariners in the next 2 years to make a step in the positive direction to I'm not even going to say like to win a World Series, but to just make the playoffs, what's one thing you would like to see the Mariners do?
Well, you guys know I'm big on True to the Blue 2022.
Yeah.
I'm big into True to the Blue 2022. But there's a lot for the Mariners that could happen to get them into the playoffs, even this year. There's going to be plenty of starting pitching available. But again, it's a matter of what do the Mariners actually need. And what they need to do is they need to figure out what the heck they got. If they're going for 2023, like they need to figure out what the heck they got this year. And, Kelnick, J-Rod, Gilbert, Kirby, Hancock, Cal Raleigh, the list goes on and on and on. And they just need to get them up. A lot of these guys were playing with the big leaguers last year in summer camp, in inter squad games, going against Marco Gonzalez, Yusei Kikuchi, going against these big leaguers on a regular basis. So it's kind of hard to say, especially like Hancock, who was out there pitching in summer camp against, Kelnick and the big league roster, mixing and mingling, which straight out of the draft on a short season. So, just kind of just say, okay, they're close enough, why, if we're going for it, these are going to be the guys that we're going for it with. So just get them up. So it's development. And I would like to see a better pitching system, pitching coaching.
Yes.
Honestly, because I think that's our biggest area of opportunity is pitching coaching, because it's pitch coaching, because it's just not good. It's just bad. It's just philosophy.
And it hasn't been for a long time.
Yeah.
They've had the talent. They just haven't I've referenced this a couple times when Cliff Lee came over to Seattle and he was working with Felix, first off, total wasted opportunity with Cliff Lee. Like, you had the chance. He was the best pitcher in baseball at the time.
We wasted.
Yes, exactly. But the thing is, the problem that I've had ever since that was there was an interview that somebody did with Felix Hernandez after that, and was like, Cliff Lee taught me a lot about being a professional.
Yeah,
because like they'd be doing workouts and stuff, and Lee would be like, no, I'm not going to do that. We're going to do it this way, And so he taught that stuff to Felix, and Felix elevated because of it,
Yeah.
And I don't blame Cliff Lee after hearing that. I don't blame him for wanting out of Seattle that year.
Oh yeah, and
he was only lasted about half the season.
And that's one thing that the that baseball needs more of, that we're slowly starting to see in general, is baseball needs player coaches. They need former guys. They're just not open to that. Baseball just isn't open to that. And it's sad to see.
You gotta have the lifers.
Yeah, but now you're very slowly starting to see guys like Chris Young getting into front office roles, Griffey getting into the commissioner's office role. Starting to see more and more players kind of scattered into the league, different front offices, league offices. And then the Mariners are a great example. I mean, they have Ichiro, they have the offensive guys on the field helping out, but it's that's what a lot of teams need, not just the Mariners. They need these players to come, they need player coaches, guys who were great big league players, to come in as those advisory roles to teach how to be a big leaguer. Yeah. Not even as a full-blown coach, but come in as an advisor, a special advisor. Go and hire Cliff Lee to come in and mentor a Marco Gonzalez.
Yeah.
They already brought in Iwakuma in a very similar role.
Yeah.
To mentor Kikuchi, but ultimately there's plenty of guys that they could go and trade for this off season or this season. Like Stroman, Gosman are going to be free agents next year after their deals are expired. It's not like the Mariners don't have money. They have plenty of money.
Oh, yeah, tons of money right now, for sure.
They have nothing but capital. They have nothing but capital. Yeah, but they could go and get a guy like Danny Duffy, who's playing extremely well.
Plenty of opportunity, plenty of cap. I don't want to say cap space, but a bunch of money below the luxury tax threshold.
Yeah, which there needs to be a salary cap, but that's a different conversation.
That's a whole nother episode.
Let's do it.
but hey, Jewell, let us know. That one. Tell us where we can find it before we go.
So, find it like me,
like you, yeah, Ballboy Blog, right?
You can find me at theballboyblog.com. That is the landing page for the blog. I've been doing the blog for a little bit over a year now. It's been kind of quiet last few weeks just because, but you can find that. You can find me over on the Tickety Talk. That's what the kids call it, right?
Something I don't know what the kids are
Something
calling
like that.
it
I don't know.
these
You can find me over there at Ballboy Blog. You can find me on Facebook, Ballboy Blog, but you can find me on Instagram and Twitter at the same handles. It won't be super difficult. But yeah, so super fun recording with you as always. You know, I'm a big fan of you guys.
Thanks, man.
Brig definitely needs to work on his TikToks. They're not as good as yours.
I'll pass it along.
I can't wait for him to hear this because I know he'll message me and be like, what the heck, man? And then there's one more thing I got to say before we head out of here is I think the Yankees are going to finish in last in the NL East this season.
They might. We talked about that this last week on the big show that
I
there's going to be a fight in that
last.
locker room, and either Aaron Boone's going to get fired and they're going to finish in last, or they're going to go on and win the division. But I'm more inclined to believe they're going to finish in last because there are a bunch of issues there that need to be resolved.
Like everything's bad. I think it starts with getting rid of Domingo Germán.
Yeah. Yep.
I think that's the biggest thing that's holding him back, honestly. Yep.
There is a big stink surrounding him in that clubhouse. That's for sure. We heard about it in spring training, and it continues to linger.
Yeah, it's not good. But the Yankees have a lot of issues. But I just had to put in there that the Yankees sucked, and the Mariners have a better record with them here at the end of April. And teams that have had time off have better records than the Yankees still have more.
And that's the big thing. That's the big scary thing for the Yankees right there.
Oh yeah, sure. Teams that have had less games have better records, which is the best part, which just makes me smile because I can't wait for Brig to hear this and listen to it and just, I can't wait to hear that because, why pay these guys a bunch of money to not play?
Well, and that's the thing is, like, I don't want to get off on too big of a Yankee thing right now, but like they're paying Stanton, obviously, and that's a deal that he brings up all the time about that's terrible. And I don't think are they paying Judge yet? I can't remember.
I think he's still on his
rookie deal for another year or two. His arbitration deal. But other than that, like, they don't have a ton of big money contracts on that team. But the issue is they've got some issues in the training room too, is they've got to figure out how to stay healthy.
Yeah, they got a lot of issues.
Yeah. But Jewell, thanks again for joining me. I really appreciate it. We'll have to have you on. I don't know. I might continue this into the winter meetings and stuff and spring training because I'm just having too much fun doing it. I'll have you on if that's the case. But if nothing else, next season for sure.
Let's do it again soon. Jewell. All right. Talk to you later.
All right, baseball family, thank you again for joining me on this month's episode of the Seattle Baseball Together podcast. That was Jewell Young of the Ballboy blog. Once again, go check him out. He does some great stuff. His stuff is a little bit different than ours. He's a little more stat focused, and he does a really good job with it. Go follow him on TikTok. You can also follow us on TikTok, Baseball Together. We've been a lot more active there than most of our other social media, but don't forget to jump on the shop, 9plusus.com, NINEPLUSUS.com. Get yourself something nice. In fact, I have something for you. Let me tell you about this. So, we have all of our city collections, every city in Major League Baseball. We have a specific collection for each. I have a deal for you. You can get 15% off anything in the Seattle collection using code SEAPOD. That's CPOD. Use that at checkout. You get 15% off anything in the Seattle baseball collection. And in order to make it easy for you, I've put a link down in the description of every Seattle Baseball Together podcast episode that will take you directly to a page on baseballtogether.com where you can shop every piece of every design and every color of the Seattle baseball collection on baseballtogether.com. Simply choose the design that you like, click the image, it will take you directly to the shop where all you have to do is choose your size and then add it to your cart and then use code CPOD at checkout for 15% off. And baseball family, you can use that as many times as you want. You can use it on as many items in that collection as you want. You can buy the whole dang collection if you want. That's just fine. You'll get 15% off all of it. And that is a deal that is special for you Seattle Baseball Together listeners. So baseball family, on that note, I will catch you next month.